Hey there. So welcome back to Wildin' Out with Wild Dog here on the channel. Today we are taking a look at the fourth and final issue of the Wild Dog miniseries from the 80s. So we have here on the header, "You are Wild Dog." Now, what that means, I'm not really sure, because, I didn't know if this is going to turn into some kind of meta ending as to who Wild Dog is, and it turns out it's the reader or something, but that's not where this book goes. We do find out who Wild Dog is in this issue. We have a little bit of a spoiler here on the cover, if you've kind of been playing along. So just again, if you do want to read these issues, they're not too expensive on the back issue market, and they are all available to read on the DC Universe Infinite app if you have access to that. You can check it out there. So here we have Chapter 4, I Am Wild Dog. And so again, this is written by Max Allan Collins with art by Terry Beattie and Dick Giordano. So it starts off this issue here with sort of a recap of what we had in the last issue, where Wild Dog stopped the terrorist attack on the armory. And so we have journalist Susan King here kind of telling the news story of what happened. So here we have Lieutenant Flint confronting King here. And again, they both have suspicions as to who could be Wild Dog. And it turns out, they're both looking at the four main characters here that we have. So again, just to kind of recap, Flint is one of the suspects here. We have Graham Galt from the CIA, and Lou Goddard, the reporter, and Jack Wheeler, the mechanic. And so here Flint is confronting Galt and kind of talking over their suspicions of who could be Wild Dog. And again, on the previous episode, my guess is Lou Goddard, the reporter, just sort of because of his backstory, kind of fits like a more traditional superhero origin story. And then we have Lou here telling him that Galt's just trying to throw him off the scent, where Flint here brings up Lou's sort of backstory and why he, is a suspect in this. It also says here that Susan King has confronted Goddard, pointing out that his last name, Goddard, is Red Dog spelled backwards. And that is sort of the mascot that is on the Wild Dog jersey here, as if that's like his only reason for doing all this. But then, they start bringing up Jack and how athletic he was. And he was in the service. And some of his squad was, killed in Beirut by terrorists. And again, pretty good motivation for a vigilante character in a comic. But here's where we start to get some more background on Jack. Turns out he has a wife that also passed away. And over the course of this next few pages here, we get, we also have a photo here that was taken from the terrorist attack the day before on the island. And so here's like a good sort of clear shot of Wild Dog. And so now we're getting some more backstory here with Jack and this woman that he fell in love with and married that passed away, but she didn't want to tell him her real last name. And over the course of this, we find out that she was a heiress to this mob boss that was killed. And we find out that she's also being targeted by the mob now. And here she dies in a drive-by with Jack. And so now we find out that Jack realizes that his wife Claire was the daughter of the mob boss. And now he has inherited all of her money, which, technically is blood money from this mob syndicate. And so what Jack decided to do here was use that money to fight, crime. And so here he has his revenge on the rival family that killed his wife. And, here we've got him dressed up as a Wild Dog here. So Jack, is Wild Dog here in the series. And this is sort of like how he started out, what he did. And so here we have him breaking in and gunning down these mobsters. And, you know, deciding to dedicate his life to this now, to use this money for what he sees as good by taking out criminals and terrorists. And so here on the last page, we have Flint confronting him now with the photograph that we saw earlier. And he points out that Jack was the only one wearing combat boots like Wild Dog at the island in the previous issue. And so Jack tries to convince Flint that what he's doing, the service he is providing here as a vigilante, is needed, and that he could use some help, you know, with a police connection. And so he makes this offer to Flint, who wants to take him in at this point. He says, "Help me instead." And as they're talking, you know, a call comes in on the police radio, and we're left with this question of, will Flint help Jack here in his crusade now? And so we have this final panel of Jack waiting on Flint's answer, and we've got "the end?" ? And so we don't know if Flint will help him from now on, or will he arrest him, take him to jail. But, you know, we've got our answer now. So Jack Wheeler was Wild Dog in this story. Again, if we'd known all that backstory, he definitely would have been the number one suspect. So they really kind of glossed over Jack's motivations and his sort of history in the previous issues of this book. They just mentioned that he was in the service and that he had friends who had died, you know, in a terrorist bombing and that kind of thing. But they didn't really get into, you know, his real motivation. So we've got really sort of a backstory dump here in this last issue with him. So it feels, you know, a little cheap with the information they gave the reader here, you know, as far as trying to figure out who Wild Dog was. I feel like if they'd gone into the backstory of the other characters as much of that, it would have been a more compelling mystery. It's still interesting trying to figure out who Wild Dog is over the course of this story, but it feels like the reader was cheated a little bit here by how much stuff was thrown in on Jack on this last issue. I don't feel like anyone else would have guessed Jack. Did you? If you've been watching these videos, did you have a theory it was Jack? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, but, you know, my money was on Lou before reading this issue. Yeah, I mean, definitely, you know, I think if you hear the other characters' backstories, Jack is obviously Wild Dog. You know, that's definitely the sort of 80s anti-hero vigilante motivation. So yeah, so that's the last issue of this original miniseries. There is more Wild Dog out there. And again, the character was on the Arrow TV show back in the day. So, you know, there has been a live-action Wild Dog. I don't know if he's shown up in any cartoons or anything. DC just did those Crisis on Infinite Earths cartoons. There were so many characters in there. There's been, I don't remember them ever sneaking him into Justice League Unlimited or anything like that back in the day. He's probably shown up as comic book crossovers, I would think. So that's Wild Dog. Here, what did you think? Have you been reading along too? Yeah, who did you think Wild Dog was going to turn out to be? And so that is the final issue of this series, but it is not the end of Wild Dog. So let me know what you thought in the comments, and thanks for watching. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter/X @Detective651, also on Instagram @Detective651. Be sure to check out my t-shirt store at tpublic.com/user/Detective651. I've got a lot of nerdy designs on there, and there's sales all the time, so check it out frequently.